Alright, so this is going to be another top sort of 10 list sort of video. It's going to be 6 things that only people with eczema or psoriasis understand. So basically, I'm making this video for people that either have eczema or psoriasis, or they just got diagnosed with it and they want to feel less alone. It's meant to be a relatable video. Because one thing I've noticed is that when you have a skin condition of any sort of ordeal, you feel like a pariah. You often feel like you're the only one dealing with it. You might not even know any people that have it, which I don't. So it makes you feel alienated and alone, and you're not alone. And there are sort of an underlying set of things that we all deal with. And I'm just making this video to point them out with, I guess, an attempt to be entertaining and somewhat relatable. So if you like this video, give it a like, give it a subscribe, and let's go ahead and start out with number 6, which is pointing it out to someone who has it is often sometimes better than pretending it doesn't exist. So to explain this better, the first time I was diagnosed with eczema and it flared up massively and very quickly, I was working a food service job. And I remember at the beginning, I desperately wanted to come into work and tell all my coworkers, like, hey, listen, this is a non-contagious skin condition. It's eczema. I know it looks weird. I know it's freaking you out. You probably think you're going to get it. You probably think it's contagious, but it's not. I wanted to tell people this every day just to break the ice and get it out of the way. Like, because I was self-obsessing, like, because it was on my face and throat and hands, and I was like, it's red, it looks unhealthy, and there's a human, like, a biological human need to feel fear when you see somebody with a skin condition, because you're biologically trained, it's like deep-rooted in your DNA, to be concerned about something like that and not wanting to touch them and get it. So it makes perfect sense, and people that have eczema and psoriasis, they understand that you feel the way that you do. A perfect way to explain this, I always like to use this little analogy. If you've ever seen the show Boardwalk Empire, there's a character in the show who had just gotten out of World War I, and he got his face like blown half off, and he had to wear a weird mask, which creeped people out all the time. And there was a scene where he's talking to somebody, and they say something along the lines of,
we should judge the person on the inside.
I can't do that myself. So why should you be able to?
Deep down, they want to meet you as a person. They're not going to judge you by your looks, like a book can't be judged by its cover. And he says the most profound thing that I think relates to eczema and psoriasis or any skin condition. He says something like, I can't stop myself from judging people based on their appearance. So why would I expect them to not judge me? And I thought, that's a great way to put it. Because think about it. Before you had eczema or psoriasis, I bet you if you saw somebody with red, scaly, flaky skin, your immediate first thought was probably like, I stay away from that guy or girl. That's how we think. That's how people are. You can't stop them from judging you. So that makes it really hard when you want to vocalize, like, hey, I got this non-contagious disease, and then they know and it's understood, but you can't do that. Every day, you can't do that. Like, for me, like, fast forward 2 years after I've got it and I've learned to deal with it at this point, I was in a car with somebody I was in a band with. I was sitting in the back seat, he was in the front, his wife was in the front seat, and he had packed, like, lunch sandwiches in, like, a cooler. And he was like, hey, Brandon, get those sandwiches out. Let's eat these sandwiches. So I got him out, And he was like, yeah, pull it out of the bag and just hand it to me. I said, all right. But then he stopped himself and he went, actually, no, just hand me the bag, because I don't, you're eczema. I don't want to get that. And I was super relieved at his honesty. Like, cool. You know what? Cool. I'm glad that you're vocalizing your fears and anxieties. Because you get so used to people being disingenuous about it. Oh, they don't judge you. Yeah, they are. Point it out, and it makes you feel better. Also, during the first month that I had it, which was horrible, I was in a mental state of despair constantly. I remember this customer walked in, and he was just kind of staring at me. And he was like, hey man, that stuff on your face. And I was like, oh, he's pointing it out. Oh. And he went, I got that too, man. You're gonna be okay, man. You can. He told me buy hydrocortisone from the dollar store. He's like, that works for me, man. I've had it too, and it's all over my face in the wintertime. And I was so used to just worrying about what other people thought about me and not saying it, that having this guy say it was like, really, it made me like cry. I think I almost cried when he did that. And I proceeded to give him a crap ton of free chicken, because I was serving chicken at the time, and I gave him a bunch of free chicken. I was like, hey, keep this on the down low. I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you the, what is it, the breast, the big chicken. Yeah, gave him a bunch of chicken. It was awesome. The guy was awesome. I'll never forget that guy. And that moves on to number 5. One of the worst parts is you can't. Oh wait, did I already go through this? All right, moving on to, I think, number 5. I don't know. I got all the numbers messed up in this video. It's that folks who have it are unimaginably tough bastards. We seriously are. But the first few weeks or months after getting it is really, you're in a terribly mentally unstable condition. It's a really dark period, your first couple weeks. So I first got it like 10 years ago, and it was like just behind my knees. It was unbelievably itchy and red, but it basically just stayed there and hibernated for 10 years, just being behind my knees. It's like, oh, this is a piece of cake. I can deal with this. But then in 2019, like, it all of a sudden spread to my throat, and then to my face, and then to my elbows and arms and chest, and eventually I have like a very severe case. It was everywhere. And I remember, weirdly enough, during the time that I first got it, this musician girl that I met through YouTube comments like flew to my state. We were both musicians, and we were like, let's film it, like let's make a documentary of us meeting and making music together. And during that footage, you could see in the footage, you could start to see it on my throat in some clips. I hope so. And during my first probably week and a half of having it, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought like I was having temporary, like, weird, like, see my throat here? Yeah, I remember thinking, oh, I think like it's dry air. Like the job had dry air, and I thought, it took me about a week until I realized it wasn't going away. And during this period, I was scratching it constantly. And I remember I heard this secondhand, but this girl that was talking to my manager, she was explaining to me, she was like, yeah, what's going on with your throat? And she said, oh, it's psoriasis. I have that too. But she was telling me that the boss was like, talking about me, was like, does he realize he's like bleeding? He's bleeding. And of course, I'm like talking to customers, scratching my throat, like, I don't know, it's just weird, like dry skin, like, just completely with a smile on my face, just like, whatever. Like, I didn't care that I was bleeding. I didn't notice I was bleeding. I was bleeding. And I realized it wasn't going away at one point, and it was a very, very depressed time in my life. It felt, I would go out to, I remember I would smoke cigarettes on break, and I would just be like looking off in despair. It was so hard to come to work in the morning. It felt like I should have had sad piano music narrating my whole life at this point. And I remember just thinking, like, what do I do? Like, I'm a social pariah all of a sudden. Uh, I remember thinking people aren't going to want to be around me. I don't have the confidence that I used to have. I used to be confident. I'm not anymore. Uh, you could feel like my nervous and anxious, sad energy when I walked into a room, because when you have something that's visible, you think you're gonna like stuff it. You can't stuff it under the rug. You can't, and your self consciousness is just gonna draw more attention to it. So I went through this period of like I was always on like psoriasis message boards and subreddits, and I remember reading a post of somebody pretty much explaining how I felt, and they were like, "Yeah, I noticed that I'm always kind of in a dark room now. I only feel safe and comfortable in a dark room, like at my computer." I was like, "Yeah, that's me. I didn't even realize that. I don't even like being outside anymore, really." And I remember I kept thinking, and I even kept saying to people, I kept going, who's gonna love me now? And a weird part of this time was I was desperately trying to find anything I could to fix it. Like, creams weren't working. They weren't working. None of the over-the-counter creams were working. And I went on Reddit, and I thought I had psoriasis. I didn't even know I had eczema. And I made a post talking about my despair and how I wanted to fix it. And I'd gone to the doctor and just got prescribed another steroid cream that I knew what wouldn't work. The doctor actually prescribed me a cream that my dad had already given me that didn't work. So I'm like, why are you prescribing me something that I told you isn't working? And I left the doctor and I went on Reddit and I found this Reddit guy and I made a post about it. And he was like, I remember his comment was like, so this is what you do. You do infrared saunas or go to join a gym and join the sauna. He gave me this long list of like, you have to sit in the sauna for an hour and a half until you just can't physically take it anymore. And I remember thinking, it felt like I went to the doctors to like get drugs and I left with nothing. And like this weird sketchy guy with like one of those like pull out vest, and he had all these like prescriptions, and he was like, hey, don't listen to the doctors, do saunas, like this will help you out, like like those old movies with all the so this guy, I remember I went to the gym every day and I would sauna until I was like physically uncomfortable and couldn't take it anymore. Didn't work. And I would try the hot tubs too, which is awkward to do when you have a visible skin condition. I remember I'd walk up to the hot tub and there'd be people in it, just like chilling, getting their hot tub on, and then I'd hop in and it'd be like weird skin disease guy enters the chat, like I'm sitting in there, and people would leave the hot tub, and I'd just be like, whatever, like them. It's another instance of you wanting to vocalize. It's not contagious. It's not contagious. As I get into a hot tub, like covered in red blotches, and everybody's like, oh. Okay. Number 4 is telling us to stop scratching is annoying and it's easier said than done. So I have a friend who's constantly, every time he sees me scratching my hand, I'll have like red marks on it. He goes, stop scratching, man. Stop scratching. And I'm like, all right, dude, like, obviously I'm not going to stop scratching. I've never stopped because you say it. So at this point, you telling me to stop scratching has become a like weird awkward obstacle I have to overcome. I have to get to the end of every time you say it. At this point, it has no clear direction or purpose. So in other words, shut the fuck up. But I appreciate you caring about me. So I feel both of those emotions often simultaneously. I've had times where I've had to go to the ER because it was so bad. And before I go any further, it's not always that bad. For the most part, it's kind of barely noticeable. But there's been times where it's gotten so bad so fast that I'm like, there's no, like, my body's response to this is probably hurting me. Like, and I'm not gonna, it's not going to help me showing this video, and I'm kind of worried about showing it. But this is a video of it getting so bad that I was like, I think I got to go to the ER. And I went to the ER, and the doctor looked at it, and he went, "Yep, that's eczema, and you look like you're scratching the out of it." And he told me, he's like, "You got to stop scratching this because you could get like cellulitis," which I've gotten before. And I remember saying, yeah, it's easier said than done, though. And he was like, "I know, trust me." Because sometimes you get like a dry itch that's so bad. It's so bad and it's so dry that you scratch it and you have what's called an itchgasm, which is better than any, I guess you could call it classic gasm anybody can have. It's like an all over the body sort of just tingling. And I've made faces, like I've had itchgasms where I've been like, oh, like I do that. My eyes roll into the back of my head. And it's not fun to have them, especially when you're in front of people. I've had times where I've been talking to people and I have this sweet spot on my ankle right here, and I'll itch that, and just in the middle of a conversation I'm like, and I'm like still trying to talk, like, it's bad. So you get those a lot. So you have never experienced an orgasm until you've had an itchgasm, which is probably 10 times better. All right, moving on to number 3. Creams don't work, and the pills used to combat it are often worse than the skin condition is itself. So, if you look up like those commercial pills you see, like I think Ozempic is one of them. They often have a list of side effects, terrible side effects, like gastro issues, depression, insomnia, weight gain, loss of eyesight, loss of motivation. And I'm about to get a shot called dupixent. Like it literally came in the mail today, which is a shot, which is a biologic shot, which kind of it kind of makes your immune system like disappear. And I googled the side effects and I was like, man, what is this? One of the scariest side effects was loss of vision, and I'm like, is that like permanent? Like, are you slowly going blind when you get this? And like, I had to ask myself, at what point do I have to calculate the risk versus rewards factor of taking something like that? In other words, so how do I balance like the eagerness to rid myself of a skin condition with my ability to see things going away? And creams usually don't work, and that's not always true, but you got to be very careful because one of the creams that my dad just gave me, like, it was called clobetesol, and I put it on my forehead and face for like a week, and then I just stopped because it wasn't working. Thank God, because I went on Reddit and I found out people who take steroid cream on their face, like, they develop this permanent acne, which is like big red sores all over your face. And I remember I posted this in Reddit to warn people. I was like, be careful with clobetazole and these high percentage steroid creams. You develop a permanent acne disease. And I remember one of the top comments just said, "Oh, that's where those red pock marks came from. Dot, dot, dot." Like, I scared this guy, because if you see something like that and you've been doing it and you realize it's permanent, you're like, the weight just drops to your stomach. You're like, oh my God. And I did. I eventually found creams that worked. One of the only ones that worked for me was called cerave or cerave psoriasis cream, but it was like $60 for one little bottle of it. So this is what I did to significantly lower the price of the creams. And real quick, I only did this at Walmart because Walmart is inherently evil corporation that makes its employees sing a shame song every morning to get them through the workday.
Last time! We are Walmart.
Young man, young girl, welcome to Wally World. You're going to be a cashier someday. You got a smile on your face.
So this is what I would do. I would go to Walmart. I'd walk up to the cream. I'd just put it in my sweatshirt pocket. And then I would just sort of leave the store. All right, we're going to end this on number 2 is alcohol makes it significantly worse, which means you don't get to have fun anymore. But you do want to have fun, so you drink anyways, and then you face the consequences for the next week. I remember times where I would be with people, and I'd be like, they'd be drinking, and I'd be like, oh man, I want to drink too. But I'd know as I was drinking them, you could feel it getting bad as you drink. For me, I would literally, I feel like a heat to my face, and I could feel my face drying up. And for the coming week, I'd have just very dry scratchiness. And when you're scratching a dry itch, that's going to lead to like bleeding and pussy oozing. And for about a week, I'd look really bad. So I eventually just had to not drink anymore. That sucks. And a lot of things mess with it, like foods. You're on an endless conquest to have the perfect diet. At this point, I have tried vegan, I've tried keto, I've tried the meat only, the carnivore diet. I don't know. None of it's worked, but then again, I haven't committed to any of it for more than 3 days. So that's it. That's the end. I don't think I have a number 1 because I screwed the numbering up. But this is the end of the video. Subscribe to my channel if you like this videos. Subscribe to this channel if you like this video. Give it a like. So what I do lately is I write these top 10 videos really quickly. Like I pace around writing them. And then I record them really quickly. Because I know that if I write a long script, it's going to take a while. And then I'm just not going to do it. I've done that 50,000 times where I'll write a long script. And I need to make it in the motivational window that I have to feel inspired to make a video. So I'm making a lot of these quickly. Check the links. I have a bunch of different channels. This is like my second channel where I just make quicker rant videos that are designed to be quick, or music, or podcasts, or anything that's just quick and I don't have to write a script for. And most importantly, if you just got diagnosed with eczema or psoriasis, just realize, number 1, you're not alone. And 2, and you really need to hear this right now, you're going to be okay. It's a tough life to live, but it'll inevitably make you stronger in the end. It gets easier after time. And never give up. Keep trying to find the right cream or the right diet, the right lifestyle. It does get better. I found a cream for my face called tacrolimus, which I have. This is my freaking lifeblood. I have 10 bottles because I hoard it. I put that much on my finger, rub it on my forehead, and it takes care of it. My forehead is a mess if I don't have this cream. And I'm about to try the dupixent shot, and I'm going to make a video on that as well. So, thanks for watching this video. I hope you got some, relatability or entertainment out of it. Have a good day.